Today on Hines Barbecue, we're back home, out here on the beautiful Hines farm in Danville, Virginia. And we're cooking something that's not that unique, but it's unique to here. So stick around to find out. All right, guys. So what we've got here is a brisket, and that's not that uncommon of a thing to have. But what this is this is a local brisket from around this area. So this beef is raised here on farms like this one behind me, and then it is shipped to the Midwest and then finished on grain, and then it comes back. So yeah, so pretty good looking stuff. Can't wait to see how this turns out. They've got this labeled as a premium beef. So it's Hartford is what the company is. This guy right here is 13.26 pounds. It's got really good looking marbling. So yeah, not too bad. It's vacuum sealed, and the packer date on this thing is actually October 20th, which was yesterday. So it's super fresh. So really looking forward to getting into this guy and seeing how this goes. I'm also using stuff that I typically wouldn't use. And also, by the way, I have washed this table, bleached it down, so that's why I'm just using the table, because I'm here at my mom's place and I forgot to bring some stuff. So this knife is not the sharpest, so we're going to have a lot of fun here trying to get this guy trimmed up. But nonetheless, we're going to get it trimmed. So we're going to get this guy trimmed up. Got the smoker fired up behind me. So we'll get it trimmed and we'll go from there. We'll catch up with you guys in just a second. All right, so we got it trimmed up here. This is about the worst job I've ever done on a brisket. So forgive me, but I'm working with archaic tools. The marbling on this guy, this is off the flat side. It's actually pretty good. So, and they do have this listed as a premium brisket. So pretty impressed. But as you can see from this pile over here beside me, lot of trimmings off of it, a lot of fat. We got a little bit more than 1/4 inch on there, but I'm going to let that go because I'm going to run this thing kind of hot. So the only thing now we got to do is season it up. So just like always, I've got a jar seasoning that I keep in a jar, and that's pretty much just to keep everything nice and crisp. I hate it when seasonings go flat, so if you're making your own seasoning or you get one you really like, throw it in a mason jar and it'll keep that from going flat. So we're going to get this guy seasoned up, throw him on the pit, and start putting some smoke on it. We're running white oak, which is local to around here. So yeah, let's get it seasoned up and get it on there. All right, so we got one layer of seasoning on the top of this guy, and something I don't think I've ever mentioned in a video before. Something I like to do is just come up here on the point side and just try to press this down a little bit to get it a little flatter. This guy's got a big hump in it, and it's not really from the decal fat that's in there. It's just the way this brisket's laid out. Maybe that chest muscle got a little bit more worked on this guy, and kind of this is what we're looking at. But so that side's done. That's the top side. Do the bottom side, and I know that's the presentation side, but we're cooking backyard barbecue, so I don't have my shaker bottle, and if it's something you forget, what you can do is just pour it in your hand and just kind of shake it over it. Kind of show you what I'm looking at here as far as kind of how much I'm putting on this. This is a pretty salt heavy rub, but this is a big piece of meat, so it really doesn't bother me that much. And the nice thing is the way I cut this, these ends are kind of laid over so that fat cap kind of rolls over as it cooks and starts to protect that edge so I can get the sides, as a great man once said. Don't forget the sides. And if you don't know what I'm talking about Bradley Robinson at Chud's Barbecue. If you have never seen his stuff, I highly suggest you go over there and check that out, because he is a pretty awesome pit master and a super entertaining guy. So I'm going to throw that out there. But so we've got, well, there goes my clean hand. So, oh well, whatever. So that's kind of what you're looking at as far as how much I'm going to put on here. And you put as much or as little as you want to. As you cook more, you'll kind of figure out where that balance is at. This rub that I make doesn't really have anything super strong in it. So I can put a lot of this on here and it won't really cause an issue. So, but we're just going to continue seasoning, getting all the sides, all the spots we need to get. Shame is I waste so much of this rub and it is expensive. So, but it's okay. It's totally worth it. So we got a good layer on there. So it is time to throw this on the pit. All right, so we got the fire kind of where we want it at. Top gauge is telling me we're running probably about 325, so that tells me at the grate I'm probably at about 225. I got about 100 degrees difference inside of here, which is kind of hard to believe, but it ranges 75 to 100 degrees. So, but we got our smoke exactly where we want it at. It's got that nice bluish whitish color to it, and we're going to run this thing at the first 4 hours on this kind of smoke. I can't tell you how critical it is in what I think makes really good barbecue. It's using a greener wood that produces this type of smoke, which, I mean, you can get this type of smoke, you know, with woods that have less life in them. But a good green piece of wood is something I really like. I think it really gives it a very good flavor from the wood, and it's really hard to get with something that may have been aged for a year or 2 years. So looking at stuff, it's been aged for, you know, some of the stuff I'm running right now has been aged for about 2 to 3 months. So not aged very much at all, and it's green and it produces a really good flavor. So if you've never tried cooking with green wood, give it a try. I think it imparts a lot of really good smoky flavor that you can't get from the same kind of wood. You know, do some comparisons on it. Try some kiln dried wood versus some really green wood versus something that's been aged for a year and see what you get. Because that's what I did, and I found that there were some really big contrasts in the way it tastes. So there's my bit on that. Let's throw it on the smoker. All right. Usual, we're going to take the biggest point of this and we're going to put it towards the fire. So I got my top rack in here, which is not something I want to have in there. So this is another reason why I always carry gloves, because you can do so much with them. This thing's 300 degrees on that top rack. Get a good pair of gloves. Reach in there and just pull it right out. Shapow. All right. So you big in towards the firebox, if you so choose. All right, and there we go. We've got our little Brisket on there. So we're gonna close this down and go do some other things, like probably run to Lowe's in town and get a digital thermometer so I can know what this thing's doing. So here we go. All right, guys, so it's been about 5 hours and getting ready to take a peek at this. I took a quick little sneak peek at it and it's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with it. So, and pretty happy with the meat, the way things are cooking overall. We got the temp bump right now to, well, of course it cuts off literally as I look at it. Just crazy. We're running 260 right now. So looking pretty good. So let's get this thing opened up and see what it looks like. All right, so there we go. Good looking bark. A little bit of pooling in here on the inside, but overall not too bad. Something else that I continue to do, and I don't know why I keep doing it, is right before I go to smoke, or right before I go to check the smoke on everything, see how everything's looking, I load the smoker up full of wood so it blows smoke all in my face. So maybe I'll stop doing that next time. We'll see. But let's get a temp on it. So kind of right there where the point and the flat are meeting. We're at 140, 147, so we're getting into the stall. Out here in the flat, 160. Up here in the front of the point, 158. And then a little pit snack here, 163. It's not too bad. So it's got a little bit of pooling. Dump a little bit of that off. Ooh, little jiggly. Very nice. Ooh, it's got a good taste to it. All right, so we're gonna shut this thing down, let it keep cooking. We're about 5 hours in, so we'll check on it here in a little bit. All right, guys, so it's time to wrap. Just check the brisket pretty close to being done. So we're at like 168, coming into like 170. Probably by the time I get it on the paper, we'll be at like 172. So to me, that's good enough to wrap. And yeah, I'm wearing a hat because I burnt my forehead and I didn't listen to my wife and put sunscreen on or put on a hat. So I don't typically wear hats, but you'll see it in this video. So there you go. So let's wrap the brisket. All right, guys, so we got the brisket out here on the table. This is what we're looking at. We've got good fat render. That fat is completely rendered on top and just kind of starting to break through, and you can see how sticky it is, and it kind of sticks to my glove. One thing I did do is I sprayed the butcher paper down and just apple cider vinegar in a little spray bottle. All that does is it helps that paper doesn't start pulling moisture out of the brisket. It'll balance the pH of the fat a little bit, but it's not really going to make that big of a deal. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to throw on some salted butter. Just some pads of salted butter. I'm just going to throw these guys on top. So typically I would use beef tallow, but my beef tallow is at home. So we're using a different type of fat. So, and I like to use salted butter, mainly because I don't go as heavy on this if I don't think that I'm going to use beef tallow and all I've got in my disposal is butter, I'll use salted butter, and I'll go a little lighter on the salt on my rub. So that's just something that kind of I like to do. So, all right, I think that's pretty good. So we don't want to leave this guy lingering out here too long. So now let's wrap it up. Get the first wrap on this guy here. And the wind has been terrible out here and has been fighting me about the whole time. So that's not going to do what I want it to. All right, well, we're just going to throw it all in there. So I was wanting that to do something a little different there, but it's not going to conform to what I want it to do. Try to keep our paper end straight here. Get the first wrap done. Pull that out. That roll done. And make sure you pull that thing good and tight. Good and tight. All right, second one we're going to do the same thing on. All right, and we got something that we really like. So I'm just going to fold that one under, fold this one under, and of course I've ripped the paper. So it's the only bad thing about spraying stuff is you can rip the paper. So that's a problem. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add an extra layer here. We've already got a good layer. It's going to soak up. It's not going to soak up any extra stuff. So we'll throw us another piece down. Hit it with a little apple cider vinegar there. So there we go. Kind of place it right there. Get down here so we can get one good full wrap on it. Just to protect that little spot there that kind of showed up there at the very end. I was probably pulling on that paper a bit hard. So there we go. All right, this little beef brisket here is going to go back on the smoker until we get an internal temperature of something I like in between 198 and 202. So we'll check this out and see how it turns out. All right, guys, so it's the next morning. We're out here, I don't know, it's probably about 8 o'clock. Beautiful backdrop behind me. It's been awesome to cook out here. So pretty much what I ended up doing is we got this guy stuck in the oven last night. I put it back on the smoker and, you know, kind of let it run a little bit longer, but we got to, I don't know, roughly about the 9 o'clock hour. So got it inside, got it in the oven, got the oven set about 170 degrees and just kind of let it cruise all night, just waking up and bumping it. And because I don't have a a holding oven here. So, but just kind of bumped it all night, kept it at about, we got it up to an internal temperature of right at 200. We're like 199, 201. Hit that, so then I cut it off, let it coast back down, got it down to about 150, and then we just kind of bumped it 145, 150, just kind of until now. And let's cut into it, see what we got. All right, so let's get this paper off of here. It's like 60 pounds of paper on here probably. Dun, dun. All right, oh man. Whew. It's like the best feeling brisket I've ever felt in my life. I mean, this thing is like crazy jiggly. Like, it's a little hard out here on the edge, but underneath, it's like jello. So, I'm gonna take a cut probably about right here. Oh, whew. Cuts like butter. Like butter. I wish you guys could just see how moist this is. Maybe moist is not the right word, but it's very juicy. It's super tender, more on the bottom than it is on the top. The top got maybe a little dried out, but not because of the cut of meat, but more because of just maybe kind of how I cooked it. I don't know, but, and I mean, I'm probably being overly picky here, but it is what it is. But we all know what I want here. I just want to take a little cut right here off the side. Really look at how good that fat is rendered. It's just nice and golden brown on the inside there. Wow. Try a little piece of this. Brisket for breakfast. Not too bad. Not too bad. Let's get a little slice off of it here. This awesome knife. This thing is just, man, would not cut much of anything. All right, so there's a full slice. It looks pretty good. The fat is completely rendered all the way even into the center of it. See how well it pulls apart here. So just kind of effortlessly. So pretty good. Let's take another bite here. It's really good. The only thing I don't like is the top part of the brisket. The flat is a little dry. I don't really know why, but it's definitely a little dry on the top. Alright guys, so after going back and reviewing the video, I do know why the brisket flat turned out so dry. It's mainly because I cooked it upside down. So that is what the real problem was. I went back and reviewed the video, trying to figure out what I did incorrectly. I was super tired, hadn't had a lot of sleep, so because we had a long travel in to getting back to my mom's house. So got in there, looked at it a little bit, and saw that I did flip the brisket upside down. So after I wrapped it, I ran everything fat side down for the rest of the cook, even holding it in the oven, everything. So it didn't have those juices to sit in the bottom, and that's what caused it to become so dry. So yeah, so figured that out, so don't do that one. As far as the smoke goes and not having good smoke flavor, still kind of baffled by that. I ran pretty green wood. I ran an open fire, pretty dirty, in my term of dirty. That's an odd term to throw around. But anyway, that is the reason why it turned out so dry on the flat and not the point. I said point in the video. Like I said, a little tired on this one, so there we go. Back to the video. So not much I can really do about that now. And the flavor, it's good, but I would like it to be a little more. So yeah, but overall, you know, I would give it, take one more bite. I'd give it a good 8. So, so yeah, so not too bad. So there it is. You know, cooking just a different brisket from kind of my hometown, and you can kind of see the, you can see the bark on that there is just, you know, it's pretty good. It's not perfect. I'm not gonna say it's the best one I've ever cooked. I definitely dried the point out a little bit, but you know, not that upset with it, especially cooking away from home. So yeah, there we go. All right, guys, so there it is. Another cook in the books. Got a hometown brisket that we ran, turned out pretty good. So a couple of things I would definitely do different. I'd run a couple of things different. Maybe try putting a water pan in there, something. I don't really know why the top of this guy dried out as much as it did, but it did, and there's not much I can do about it now. And it really didn't have the amount of smoke flavor that I wanted, although I thought I got really good smoke on it. So kind of a few things to adjust on that and come back and try again. But definitely cool to cook something that came from farms out here that I actually worked on as a kid. So yeah, drop some comments down there. Tell us what you think about these videos. Love all the feedback from everybody that I've gotten so far. And yeah, so till next time, keep them burning.